Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look at all the Boba Fett's ships. Not Jango Fett's, but definitely 100% slave ones.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mando number 5.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel, Mando number 5, and I'm Keith Guppy. So, welcome to episode number 11 of Mando's Best, where I look at all the classic vehicles, characters, the 3.75 lines from 1995. And first of all, I apologise. I've got a bit of man flu about me, so my throat is a bit off this week. So, please bear with me. So this week we're going to look at the classic Slave One, not Boba Fett Starship, as they want to call it now. How ridiculous is that? It's Slave One and always will be Slave One for me. So this follows on from us looking at the Boba Fett's last week, and anyone who hasn't watched it, go back and watch that episode because there was over 45 different Boba Fetts. So I thought, why not do the Slave One this week? So there were 10 Slave Ones produced in total since 1995 to the present day. There are a couple Jango Fett Slave Ones, which I'm not going to include. I'm only going to include Boba Fett Slave Ones. And I think there's probably 3 or 4 different molds from, copying the original vintage style for the Power of Force right through to the TVC much bigger versions. And then, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do, we'll grade them as we always do when I look at my vehicles or play sets. We'll look at the features and playability, and we'll give all these categories a score out of 10. Box art, presentation, what they look like, the scale, the size of them, the look compared with 3.75-inch figures, how rare they are, and lastly, I'll give you a approximate market value for now. So we'll do that in a minute. But just before we do that, hit the like button if you're enjoying this, subscribe if you want to see more, and let's get into the detail. So, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the Power of the Force from 1996. On the classic green sort of lightsaber effect on the box. This was just a pure reproduction of the original vintage one with obviously some better livery and weathering on it, but essentially the same version with the carbonite block, the swiveling chair, the swiveling wings that move the chair, and the guns at the end. Not much more to say than that, really. But I think back in 1996, we were just so pleased to see the Slave One re-released, and this was quickly followed by the Shadows of the Empire version in the purple box. And this version here would cost you about £70 now on eBay. And here's the purple version, which was launched almost the same time, exactly the same, really, but just in the purple box. The same bits and pieces on it, where you can, move the wings to rotate the cockpit. You've got the carbonite block again. You've got the handle on the base, just like the vintage one was like. This one's slightly rarer to get hold of, and you probably spend about £80. There was a tops card version as well, which is a little bit rarer, but generally you can get these for about just under £100. And then in 2004, you got this lovely piece, the Trilogy collection version. And now there was a prototype version that was brought out just before this, but it was never fully released, which would have gone in the Saga line. But that was Jango Fett's ship. But I will put a couple pictures of it because I think it's a real shame, because I think how it sits in this box with the windows is absolutely great. The Boba Fett's a really nice version of Boba Fett with the fabric cloak, soft goods. And it did have one main extra feature on it, and that was the rockets that fired from the top. So you moved a cog at the bottom, and as you can see, there was rockets from the top that fired out. So that was the main new sort of feature on this version. Apart from that, pretty much the same size as the Power of the Force version from 1996. And that would cost you about £70. And in 2010, Hasbro brought out this gorgeous battle pack from the Clone Wars animated series. Now, controversially, I know this is actually Jango Fett's ship, but it is titled Boba Fett's ship, or Boba Fett's Ultimate Battle Pack. So I have included it. Sorry about that. But in terms of what it was like, it was a little step up. Not a huge ship. but it did have the new capsule to carry handing carbonite from the back. It had the flip up front, and a couple other little features that were improved. I mean, it's got the Starfighter as well, and it's got some very very unique figures inside. A young Boba Fett and an animated Bosk, as well as the R8B7 droid, and these are all unique to this pack. So I mean, it's a gorgeous looking pack. Very expensive. You'd probably spend about £180 now to get this pack. The slave one's a step up, but it's not a TVC version. But overall, a pretty lovely pack. The graphics on the end, the artwork's really really nice as well. And this is very very difficult to get hold of in good condition. And that's, they're saying slave one 45 centimeters, but I think that's kind of the standard size really. But yeah, a really really nice pack, and really sought after. Then in 2013, you had the pretty awful Slave One version in the Mission series, and it was tiny. It was just awful. And I'll put a comparison up so you can see the size of this versus a TVC version, and it's chalk and cheese. It doesn't do a lot. It's got one rocket that fires out the back. The hatch lifts up, and the fins do turn, but apart from that, it does little. And there was two versions. There was the Mission Series one, and there was a Rebels one. And the Rebels one is the only one I haven't got actually. But you can probably pick these up now for, I don't know, probably about £30, for maybe £30 or £40. This was again relaunched in 2015 in the Force Awakens line. And you did actually get a Boba Fett with this version. So that was nice, packing. But in terms of the ship, same size ship again, far too small. Same features, the missile, turning wings in the hatch for the cockpit. That's it. Bit of nice graphics on the end, but otherwise, pretty disappointing. I think that's for the Mission Series version of Boba Fett there, but at least you got a pack in. But, again, this here, would you probably get this for about £40 on eBay right now, maybe 50. And then in 2013, we finally had a much better upgraded version of Slave One. And this was really nice. Much, much bigger version. It had the capsule in the back again, 3 seats in the front. It had bombs that dropped from underneath the ship. It was a really nice version. Much bigger, much truer to scale. And obviously the side open again, much like the Clone Wars version there. Didn't have the stand, which later versions had, but you had this really nice feature where you could put a Han Solo in the carbonite in the front of the ship, which is really cool. I mean, this would cost you about £100 now. It was an Amazon exclusive back in the day, and came in the white mailer box. But yeah, a real step up. Then in 2021, they brought him out again, Slave One, and this time all the same features, but had a better paintwork, better weathering, especially on the base. But this time you had this unique stand, and it looks fantastic on the stand. If anyone's got one of these, it's one of those ships that I don't open stuff, but I'm really tempted. So it had all the same features, but on the stand it looks absolutely amazing. But again, this one's probably a little bit more expensive. You probably have to spend about, I don't know, about £110 maybe. Not much difference really, but it does have the stand. So this is the one I would prefer to get. The picture on the front is a bit more interesting. It's got a bit more of Bespin as well to look at. So, probably my favourite out of the two. And then more recently, 2023, this one, and this is really controversial. Boba Fett's Starship. So Hasbro have dropped the word slave, Slave One, and gone through just Boba Fett Starship, which I'm not in favour of. But with this one, you did get Boba Fett in his Tusken Raider gear, which is really nice. A loose packing. Shame it wasn't on a card or unique card. But again, on a stand, which is great. The paintwork again is probably a little bit better again on this version. And to get this one, this is probably more expensive than free, about £120 to get. And then here's just a shot of all of them together. All the versions from the 2013 right up to 2023. And you can see that interestingly, the 2013 box is slightly smaller, probably because it didn't have the stand in it. But they look pretty cool all together, and this is how I display them alongside each other. in my collection room altogether as a bit of a comparison. But there you go. There's a really nice shot of all three of them together. And they almost released a trilogy window version for the Saga line from 2002, which would look cool. I'll put some pictures up because there are some pictures out there. I think it was done up as a prototype and never released, but that would have been real cool because the trilogy version with the windows looks really smart and it looks really nice in the blue. And in the end, they just released it as a Jango Fett box version, which is a bit of a shame. So that's just one I found out about when I was doing a bit of research for this episode. So there it is, 10 Boba Fett's Slave 1. Well, technically 9, because you had Boba Fett in Django's Slave 1 for the Clone Wars pack, but I've kept it in, but just bear that in mind at the end of the scoring anyway. So let's look at the scoring. So first of all, we'll start for value for money for the first 5 that were launched. So the Power of the Force ones, they are what they are. They don't do an awful lot, just much like the vintage ones. So I've given them 6 out of 10. They're £70, £80. So there you go. The trilogy one, I've given that an 8. Again, it's £60, but you do get the Boba Fett in it, and it looks great in that window art. So the window viewers, you can see the whole ship. So that's really, really cool. The battle pack, although it's an absolutely gorgeous set, I've given that a 7. £180 that is. So it's a lot of money for what it is, even then. So I've given that a 7. And the Mission Series one, poor quality Slave 1, but I'll go into that later on. £35, so I'd give that a 7. In terms of rarity, out of the two Power Force ones, the Empire, Shadows of the Empire one is slightly more rare, so I'd give that a 8. Excuse me, I've got a terrible cough. And the other one a 7. The trilogy, I've given that a 7 out of 10, because that's, again, they're all quite easy to get hold of. The battle pack, however, is very hard to get hold of in good condition. I've given that a 9. And the Mission Series one is quite easy to get. I've given that a 6. In terms of size, scale, and looks, both the Power Force ones I've given a 7, as well as the trilogy. They're all basically the same mold. In terms of size, they are what they are. The Battle Pack one is obviously the bigger TVC type version, so I'd give that an 8. And then the Mission Series one's pretty rubbish, even smaller version. I don't know why they went back smaller. I've given that a 5. Then you've got the box art presentation, both the Power Force ones, much to muchness. I slightly prefer the purple version, but I've given them both a 7. The trilogy, I've given that a 9 because I love the window box art on that. It's a shame that the prototype one that they were going to release in the Saga line didn't get a launch, and I'll put another picture up there for you to see, but that would have been really, really cool. In the end, where they went for just a normal plain box for the Jango Fett version, which is a shame. Um, and then I like the book of the battle pack. That's really cool. The box art on there is really, really nice, and you get the 4 figures presented really nicely in front. And they are unique figures, and they look really, really cool. And then the Mission Series is what it is. And then in terms of features, playability, both the Power Force ones. Okay, you've got the carbonite block, you've got the spinning cockpit. I've given them both 6 out of 10. The trilogy one, it's got the 4 missile launcher. All the other features of the Power Force, so I've given that a 7. Obviously the Clone Wars version has got bombs. It's got side opening. It's got all the other bits and pieces you get the TVC one, so I've given that an 8. And then the Mission Series one again is pretty rubbish, and I've given that a 5. And then to the next 5 that were produced, you've got the Rebels one, value for money. It's only £40, so I'd give that a 6. Force Awakens, you do get the Boba Fett with it, so I've given that a 7. You've got the free TVC ones. Again, they're all about £100. The Boba Fett one, sorry, the Book of Boba Fett one is slightly more expensive, but you do get a figure with that, so I've given them all a 7. In terms of rarity, the Rebels one is quite rare actually. I haven't got it. It's one I haven't got, and I give that an 8. The Force Awakens you can get pretty much anywhere at a 7. And out of the free TVC ones, the Amazon exclusive, the first one's slightly rarer, so I give that an 8, and the other 2 a 7 each. Scale, look, and compatibility with 3.75. Not surprising, the Rebels one's rubbish. It's 5. It's too small. The Force Awakens one is the same. I've give that a 6. But the TVC ones, I've give them an 8, a 9, and a 9. This last two have both got 9s because they got slightly better colourings and weathering on them, especially underneath. So I give them slightly higher score. Box art presentation, the Rebels ones, it was what it is. 7. The Trilogy, the Force Awakens, again a 7. That's quite nice with Kylo Ren on there. The Amazon one, the first one was pretty drab. I'm only giving that a 6. You just got a few members of the Cloud City in the background. But on the later ones, they've jazzed up the backgrounds a little bit and you've got a bit more going on. So I've given them both a 7. Then in terms of features, playability, unsurprisingly, the Rebels one's only a 5. It's just got nothing going on for it. It's rubbish. And so is the Force Awakens one. They're just cheap versions of what Slave One should be. And then for the TVCs, I've got 7 for the Amazon exclusive one. It's not got a stand. For me, the stand is really important. It makes it look really nice on display. So I've given that a 7. But the other two, I've given them both 9s because they have got the stands and them. I think the Book of Boba Fett one hasn't got the Han Solo bit at the front, but you do get the Boba Fett Tusken Raider figure, which equals the score up. So I've given them both 9s. So, ladies and gentlemen, where does that leave us with the final scores for our 10 Slave Ones? So, unsurprisingly, the bottom one is number 10, the Mission Series Boba Fett from 2013, with 30 points, followed closely by the Rebels version. It's a little bit rarer, so probably why it's got one more point at 31. Then you've got the Force Awakens, again, the very small version. It has got the pack in, so that gets it at 32. Then the Power of the Force Green version, the first version released in 1996, 33 points. The purple version, Shadows of the Empire, 34 points. One more. I like the box a little bit better. And then you got the first TVC from 2013 at 36 points with no stand. Then you've got the Book of Boba Fett, Boba Fett Starship, at 38 points. And then the same points, but I like it because it displays really, really well. Is a Trilogy collection one from 2004 on 38 points as well. And then in second place, and this is quite close, a bit controversial, I apologise. In second place was the TVC version from 2021, which has got the stand. It's called Slave One. It's got a better backdrop. So that's probably, if I'm talking pure Slave One Boba Fett versions, not Jango Fett's, that's probably winner. However, it is called the Boba Fett's Ultimate Battle Pack. It's got small Boba Fett in there, the exclusive Boba Fett, the exclusive Bosk, the exclusive droid. It's a fantastic set, so that wins at 41 points. The Clone Wars battle set. I know it's very, very expensive, but it's an amazing set. It's very hard to get. You can only get it in Toys R Us. Very difficult to get a hold of, but that is my favourite Slave One boxed item for this week. So that's Mando's Best, episode number 11. So anyway, stay tuned. Like I said, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mando number 5.